And what is a triathlon for those who don't know?
So it's swimming, biking and running. Obviously, not being able to see very well in a swim is quite precarious at times. You just end up following the feet of the people in front of you and hoping for the best. Riding a bike is normally okay, but you have to be so aware of everything going on around you. So my hearing is good. You can sense stuff. You can kind of keep yourself out of trouble, but unfortunately, you need to be able to react quickly. So again, having sight loss on a bike probably isn't the best thing. And obviously running without a guide, with bad sight loss, it can lead to all kinds of problems. And I'd sort of thought, well, I'm okay for now. I haven't hurt myself. I'll be okay. And I knew the day was coming when that wouldn't be possible. And like I say, 2017 was when it happened for me. Just had a really bad race. A lot of bad things happened. And I was just like, it's not worth the risk anymore. So,
and how far do you bike? How far do you swim? And how far do you run?
So the distances vary according to the event. So you can do super sprint where the swim is only 250 or 400 meters. The bike is 10 kilometers, so just over 6 miles. And then the run is normally anything up to 2.5K. Or you can go all the way the other end of the scale of like Ironman, which is long distance triathlon, which is a 3.8 kilometer swim, 180K on the bike, and a marathon to finish on the run. So there really is like this huge scale of really tiny to massively long. So I've done them all, but at the moment I'm very much focusing on the shorter stuff at the moment.
Oh, really? You did the long form one?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's very cool. I've not done it as a para athlete, so I haven't done it on the tandem yet. So I'm very much in the sort of sprint zone, so in the short stuff at the moment. But that would definitely be something I'd like to look at in the next couple of years.
That's awesome. So the difference between like a triathlon and a ParaTriathlon is like you have guides basically along the way. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So for the VI, so the visually impaired, which incorporates a scale. So there's certainly in para sport, there is, for visually impaired, there's 5 categories, B1 to B5. B5 is sort of not to throw shade on them, but they're kind of visually impaired, but they're okay to sort of do a lot of stuff for themselves.
Okay.
B1 on the other end of the scale is completely blind. So if you're competing in the UK, for example, and I think around the world, B1, B2, B3 is a category that can compete in the Paralympics, for example, the World Championships.
Okay.
So I'm a B2. Most of the people I compete with in the UK are B2. So yeah, basically it just means that we have to race with a guide. It's the same guide. It's a male guide if you're a male, and a female if you're a female. And the guide has to be the same guide for the swim, the bike and the run. So yeah, and obviously we ride on a tandem rather than a normal bike. So it's the same as triathlon, but it's just adapted to allow us to swim safely with someone else, bike safely on a bike with someone else, and then run attached to another human being. So yeah,
and I'm sure that's like, not only are you training to physically be able to have the endurance for these tasks, but then you also have to factor in you're now attached to somebody else, and that's going to change your movements. That's going to change a lot. So that's a whole new aspect to it. I imagine that makes it, some people might probably, like, if they're ignorant about it, they're like, oh, it makes it easier. He has somebody to help him. But I feel like swimming with attached to somebody sounds pretty difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, the interesting thing is that I really enjoy competing with the guide, because for me personally, I like to have fun when I'm racing. So it's nice for me to have someone to kind of share in the pain and the joy of what we're doing. Certainly anyone that thinks there's an unfair advantage to being tied to someone in the swim, they need to get in the water with someone else and try it out.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal, because you're very close to another person that's also kicking and swinging their arms. So it can get quite brutal. You can get slapped on the back of the head or kicked or, whatever. And their only job is obviously to get their head up and look and direct traffic and give certain cues when we're turning, etc. My job as the visually impaired swimmer is just to keep my head down and not bring my head up until we've got to the end.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm at on the course. I don't know how long I've been swimming for, and I don't know where the end is. I just have to keep my head down and hope that the person I'm tied to knows exactly where they're going. And so it's a lot about trust, very much like being a visually impaired or blind person in a community it's all about trust. And, that's hard to find with someone. You're in the water. There's a very good chance that you could drown and die. It's a lot of crazy thoughts go through your head when you're swimming tied to somebody else.
Yeah. To train for these events, I doubt every day you're going out and swimming, with a guide. I doubt every day you're going out running with a guide. So how does someone like yourself, stay active and in shape to be able to pull these events off?
So I'm lucky. I work as a PT, personal trainer. I work as a triathlon coach, running coach, and a sports therapist. So I luckily am in contact with a lot of people that do the same sort of stuff that I do.
Yeah.
So I tend to look at my week and say, I need someone to come running with me on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday who's about. And sometimes people will be free and sometimes they're not. So if I can get out and run, then I will do. If I can't, then we've got sort of a cross trainer at home that I can use. And so that's sort of
like a treadmill.
Yeah, it's sort of it's a cross between a cross trainer and a treadmill. It's called a zero gravity treadmill. So it's got a bit more range than a cross trainer has, but it hasn't got the treadmill belt that you can fall off and hurt yourself, because I have terrible balance and I don't like treadmills. So yeah, I try to get outside running as much as I can. With the bike, it's a little bit different. I have a guide called Ant. We will get out on the tandem when we can. But when I can't, I have an indoor bike at home. So I just use that.
Yeah.
And then swimming again, if I can get to the pool on my own, then I will just do what I can. If it's quiet, I'll just use a float and just kick my legs and do whatever. I prefer to be out in the open water, which in the UK tends to be from around April, May time because it's so cold. So that gives me a lot of freedom. So I like to do that, even though I don't always know where I'm going. I just feel like it's a bigger opportunity for me to just put my head down and swim. So I like to do that. And I also have an indoor swim trainer, which is basically an inflatable box that I lay on. And then I attach hand paddles that are like big bungee cords to a door handle. And I can just kind of pull against the resistance in my own house. So I've got a few options. Get to the gym. Me and Lauren go to the gym together a couple of times a week. So yeah, it's all good.